She spent one night with a billionaire, and then this happened. The clickbait headline flashed across Haley's phone during a long hospital shift. She rolled her eyes and tossed the phone aside. Who really believed a billionaire would show up out of nowhere and change a stranger's life? What Haley didn't know was, just hours later, she'd find herself in a story even crazier than that headline. If you're just as curious as she once was, hit that subscribe button, because the ending will leave you speechless. 12 hours into a 16-hour shift at Oak Ridge Community Hospital, Haley Brooks had more urgent things to deal with than fantasy romance. The understaffed ER had been slammed since she arrived, and her legs were screaming. "Haley, we need you in Bay 3," her supervisor called, poking her head into the break room. "And don't forget, you're scheduled to help at the charity gala tonight. With budget cuts coming, the hospital needs all the good PR it can get." Haley suppressed a groan. The gala. She'd completely forgotten she'd volunteered to serve drinks at the hospital's annual fundraiser. Extra hours meant extra pay, and with student loans and her mother's medical bills piling up, she couldn't afford to turn it down. "On my way," she said, downing the rest of her coffee and straightening her scrubs. Only 8 hours to go before she could collapse in bed. The Ashton Hotel ballroom sparkled with wealth, crystal chandeliers, champagne flutes, designer gowns, and tailored suits. Haley felt completely out of place in her borrowed black dress and practical flats. Even among other hospital staff, she still stood out. She moved through the crowd with a tray of champagne, offering polite smiles to guests who barely noticed she existed. Just the value of their watches could fix the hospital's budget crisis, she thought bitterly. "Excuse me." A deep voice came from behind. Haley turned to find herself looking up at a man seemingly designed to make her self-conscious, tall, athletic, his tailored tux fitting like it was made just for him. He had a face made for magazine covers, sharp jawline, piercing gray eyes, dark hair touched with silver at the temples. Early 30s, maybe. "May I have a glass?" he asked, his voice carrying a slight accent she couldn't place. "Of course," Sir Haley replied automatically, holding out the tray. Their fingers brushed. A spark of electricity. Their eyes met, and for a second, just 1 second, the noise of the gala seemed to fade away. "Thank you," he said, glancing down at her name tag. Haley. The way he said her name made it sound special. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. "You're welcome, Mr. Grayson." Grayson Cole. The name rang a bell. She'd heard it before. "You don't look like you're enjoying yourself," he observed, sipping his champagne. Haley flinched. "I'm working, sir." "That doesn't mean you can't have opinions," he said with a soft smile. "These events are tedious, aren't they? So much wealth in one room, and somehow they still struggle to direct it where it's needed most." Was he mocking her? She wasn't sure, but something in his expression felt genuine. "The hospital needs funding," she said carefully. "The children's wing is outdated, and the community clinic might have to close." Grayson nodded thoughtfully. "That matters to you." "Of course it matters," Haley replied, forgetting her professional mask. "People rely on that clinic. Not everyone can afford private health care." A slight smile touched his lips. "So, if you had the money to fix it, what would you do?" Haley laughed, caught off guard. "That's a nice fantasy, but—" "Humor me," he interrupted, eyes suddenly intense. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was the strange attention from this striking man, but Haley found herself answering honestly. "I'd modernize the clinic first. Add more exam rooms, upgrade the equipment, hire more staff to cut wait times. Build a real pediatric wing with child life specialists. Expand mental health services." Her voice grew more passionate. "I'd set up a sliding scale payment system so no one gets turned away. Maybe even open an urgent care section to take pressure off the ER." Grayson was watching her intently, no trace of condescension, only interest. "You've thought this through," he said. "I work there 3 days a week," Haley explained. "I see what's missing." "Mr. Cole." A woman in a glittering gown stepped in, breaking their connection. "The hospital board is looking for you. Your donation announcement is in 10 minutes. And then it clicked. Grayson Cole, the tech billionaire, founder of Cole Innovations. His company had revolutionized renewable energy storage or something groundbreaking like that. Haley had seen his name on the donor list, but hadn't made the connection. "Of course," Grayson said smoothly to the woman, then turned back to Haley. "It was a pleasure, Haley. Maybe we'll finish this conversation later," he said, walking away. Haley stood, frozen face burning with embarrassment. She had just lectured one of the richest men in the country about hospital funding. She must have sounded idealistic and naive, a nurse with delusions of being a healthcare strategist. The rest of the night passed in a blur of champagne trays and forced smiles. Grayson Cole donated $5 million to the hospital's general fund, announced to thunderous applause. But Haley didn't speak to him again. Not until the gala was winding down, and he appeared quietly at her side as she cleared empty glasses. "Would you like to have dinner with me?" he asked, no pretense in his voice. Haley nearly dropped her tray. "I'm sorry, dinner," Grayson repeated. "Or just a drink if you'd prefer. I'd like to continue our conversation." Her first instinct was to say no. Men like Grayson Cole didn't ask women like her to dinner without an agenda. But there was something in his direct gaze that made her hesitate. "My shift ends in 30 minutes, she heard herself say. Grayson smiled a genuine smile that softened his otherwise serious face. "I'll wait in the lobby." The hotel bar was nearly empty when they settled into a quiet corner. Grayson ordered a scotch. Haley opted for wine. "You must be exhausted," Grayson observed. "A full hospital shift, then this event." Haley shrugged. "I'm used to it." "Doesn't mean it's right," he countered, watching her with sharp gray eyes. "The system takes advantage of people like me," Haley blurted before she could stop herself. Instead of being offended, Grayson laughed a deep, genuine sound that made a few heads turn. "You're not wrong," he admitted, "though I'd like to think I'm not quite the villain you imagine all wealthy men to be." One drink turned into two, and the conversation flowed more easily than Haley expected. Grayson surprised her easy to talk to, intelligent, genuinely interested in her insights on healthcare. He shared stories of his unconventional rise to success, speaking openly about failures and setbacks in a way that felt refreshingly honest. "People only see the success," he said, turning his glass in his hands. "They don't see the 3 failed startups, the nights sleeping in my car, or the countless investors who shut the door in my face." "It's hard to feel sorry for you now," Haley teased, growing bolder in the warmth of the moment. "I'm not looking for pity," Grayson replied with a smile that made her pulse quicken. "Just understanding that we're not so different." As the bar neared closing, neither seemed eager to end the night. When Grayson suggested continuing their conversation in his suite, Haley surprised herself by agreeing. His suite occupied the top floor of the hotel, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city bathed in lights. Haley had never seen luxury like this, the space larger than her entire apartment, decorated with an understated elegance. They stood side by side at the window glasses in hand, gazing out at the shimmering skyline. "All those lights," Grayson murmured. "All those lives. It's humbling, isn't it?" "Do you actually feel humbled?" Haley asked, genuinely curious. "With all your success, your wealth." Grayson turned to face her, his expression suddenly serious. "Money changes how people see you more than it changes how you see yourself." I'm still the kid who grew up in a tiny apartment above my grandmother's tailor shop. There was something raw in that admission when that touched Haley. Or maybe it was the way he looked at her like he truly saw her. Not just the surface, but everything underneath. She wasn't sure who moved first, but suddenly his lips were on hers, hesitant at first, then fierce. The wine was forgotten as she wrapped her arms around his neck, losing herself in the heat that had been building between them all evening. "Is this a mistake?" she whispered against his mouth. "Only if we pretend it's more than what it is," Grayson said, his hands resting at her waist, waiting for her decision. Haley had never done anything like this before. Never felt this reckless, this alive. Tomorrow they would return to their separate worlds. But tonight, they had this. An unexpected connection. A raw, undeniable desire. She answered with another kiss, deeper this time as they moved toward the bedroom. Morning light streamed through the partially closed curtains, pulling Haley from a deep sleep. For a moment, she was disoriented by the luxurious sheets, the unfamiliar room. Then memories of last night flooded back Grayson's arms, his surprising tenderness, the way he made her feel wanted and respected at the same time. She reached across the vast bed, only to find cool, empty sheets. Grayson was gone. On the bedside table, a handwritten note lay beside a room service tray with coffee, fresh fruit, and pastries. "Haley, I couldn't move my morning meeting. Stay as long as you'd like. The suite is yours until tomorrow. If you want a day to rest, you've earned it. Last night was unexpected and incredible." Grayson, no phone number. No mention of seeing each other again. Exactly as they had agreed, just one night, no illusions of anything more. Haley wasn't sure if she should feel relieved or disappointed as she took a sip of still warm coffee. The note was thoughtful, the gesture generous, but something in its finality left a hollow ache in her chest. "Don't be ridiculous," she told herself. "What did you expect, that a billionaire would want to date a nurse drowning in student loans living in a tiny apartment? That was the stuff of tabloid fairy tales, not reality." Last night had been a dream, beautiful but fleeting. It was time to return to her real life. After a quick shower, Haley, dressed in last night's clothes, left most of her breakfast untouched and walked out of the hotel. By the time she reached her apartment, the entire night already felt like a distant memory. 3 months passed, and Haley had almost convinced herself that her night with Grayson Cole had been nothing more than a fantasy. She buried herself in work, took extra shifts, tried not to think about steel-gray eyes and warm hands. Until the shocking announcement echoed through Oak Ridge Community Hospital, the building housing the community clinic had been sold. The new owner planned to convert it into luxury apartments, forcing the clinic to shut down within 90 days. "This is unacceptable, Dr. Bennett." The clinic's director fumed during an emergency meeting. "Where will our patients go? The nearest clinic is already overburdened." "The nearest clinic is already overburdened," he repeated, his voice heavy with frustration. "Who bought the building?" Haley asked, her stomach twisting at the thought of the vulnerable families relying on the clinic's services. "Some investment firm," Dr. Bennett replied, skimming through his notes. "Thorn Holdings, LLC." Haley felt the blood drain from her face. Thorn. That couldn't be a coincidence. After the meeting, she retreated to the break room and did something she'd avoided for months. She searched for Grayson Cole. Article after article praised his business success, his groundbreaking technology, his philanthropic efforts, and her heart clenched his real estate investments, including a newly established subsidiary focused on urban development, Cole Holdings. The man who had listened so intently as she spoke about her passion for community health care was the same man shutting down her clinic. The bitter irony nearly took her breath away. Without hesitating, Haley found the contact information for Cole Innovations and dialed. I need to speak with Grayson Cole, she told the receptionist. Mr. Cole doesn't take unscheduled calls, came the polite but firm response. May I ask what this is regarding? Tell him it's Haley Brooks from Oak Ridge Community Hospital about the clinic his company is shutting down. A pause. One moment, the receptionist said. Haley was surprised she hadn't been hung up on. After a few minutes of hold music, a voice she hadn't heard in months filled the line. Haley, Grayson said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. This is unexpected. Is it? She replied coolly. I just found out that Thorne Holdings bought the building housing our clinic, the same clinic I told you was vital to this community. Silence. I see, Grayson said finally. And you're calling to ask how I could do this? Haley's anger boiled over. You listened to me talk about how much this clinic means to our patients, how many people depend on it, and what it was just foreplay to you. Grayson remained calm, measured. I think we should talk in person, not over the phone. So you can charm your way out of this, I don't think so. I'll come to you, he offered. The clinic. Tomorrow at 6 after your shift. Just give me a chance to explain. She should have said no. She should have hung up and erased Grayson Cole from her life for good. Fine, she said at last. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock. But I'm not changing my mind about what you've done. Haley stood outside the clinic as a sleek black car pulled up precisely at 6. Grayson stepped out dressed more casually than she'd ever seen, dark jeans and a simple button-down, but somehow still exuding effortless wealth. Thank you for meeting me, he said, his expression unreadable. I'm only here because our patients deserve someone to fight for them, Haley said coldly, even if it won't change anything. Grayson nodded, glancing at the clinic's entrance. Can we go inside? He asked. I'd like to see it for myself. Reluctantly, Haley unlocked the door and led him into the now empty clinic. The last patients had left an hour ago, and the cleaning crew hadn't yet arrived. Grayson walked slowly through the waiting area, taking in the worn-out chairs, the outdated equipment visible through open doors, the small children's corner with its tattered books. How many patients come through here daily? He asked. Between 60 and 80, Haley said, watching him warily. More during flu season or emergencies. Grayson nodded, moving deeper into the space. And your staff? 3 rotating doctors, 5 nurses including me, 2 medical assistants, a social worker, and a part-time pharmacist. She crossed her arms. All of whom will be looking for new jobs thanks to you. Grayson turned to face her, his expression serious. My grandmother died from a treatable illness because she couldn't afford the right medical care, he said bluntly. Haley blinked, thrown by the sudden, deeply personal admission. She raised me after my parents walked away, worked 16-hour days in her tailor shop to put food on the table. And when she got sick, the system failed her. Grayson stepped toward the clinic's tiny pharmacy. I was 19, a college freshman working 2 jobs. I couldn't afford her medication. The free clinic in our neighborhood had shut down a year earlier due to budget cuts. His voice was steady, but Haley could hear the old pain woven through every word. By the time I found a hospital willing to treat her without insurance, it was too late. He turned back to her, his gray eyes sharp. So no, Haley, I'm not shutting this clinic down. I bought this building to save it. Her breath caught. What? The previous owner was days away from closing a deal with the developer, Grayson explained. I outbid them, but not to build condos to stop them from being built. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a neatly folded set of architectural plans, spreading them out on the reception desk. This is my plan for the space, he said, doubling the square footage by expanding into the vacant lot next door. State-of-the-art equipment. a dedicated pediatric wing, expanded mental health services. He looked up at her. Sound familiar? Haley's heart pounded as she recognized the vision before her, her vision. The ideas she had whispered over champagne, the dreams she had shared when she thought no one truly listened. "You remember," she whispered. "Every word," Grayson said. "I started working on this the night we met. The acquisition was complicated. Took longer than expected. I didn't reach out because I wanted everything in place first." Something flickered across his face, hesitation, uncertainty. "I wanted to surprise you," he admitted, though letting everyone believe the clinic was shutting down, not part of the plan. Haley exhaled sharply, still struggling to process. "So, the panic, the protests, that was all a misunderstanding." Grayson winced. "The official announcement wasn't supposed to go out until I spoke with Dr. Bennett about the transition plan. Someone leaked the sale details without context." Haley studied the architectural plans, noting the careful layout, every detail aligning with what Grayson had just described. "If all of this is real, then why?" she asked, looking up at him. "Why are you doing this?" Grayson hesitated. For the first time, his usual confidence wavered. "Because you were right about what this community needs. Because my foundation has been looking for a clinic model to replicate nationwide." He paused, then continued, his voice softer. "And because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you." The confession hung between them. "That night meant something to me," Grayson admitted. "I didn't expect it to. I didn't expect you. But I left. Because I didn't think someone like you would want to deal with the complications of someone like me." "You didn't give me the chance to decide," Haley said, her eyes steady on his. "I'm giving you that choice now," Grayson replied. "The clinic will move forward no matter what. This isn't a condition or manipulation. But I want you involved, at least professionally." He shrugged, a rare moment of vulnerability from a man who always seemed in control. "As for the rest, that's entirely up to you." Haley looked from the blueprints to Grayson's face, searching for deception, but all she saw was sincerity. That night they shared had been unexpected, two strangers connecting in an emotionally charged moment. But this was different. This was the real Grayson, the man behind the wealth and power. "I need time," she finally said, "to think about all of this." Grayson nodded, unsurprised. "Take as much time as you need. The clinic will remain open throughout renovations. I've arranged a temporary facility across the street. Dr. Bennett has all the details." He carefully folded the blueprints and handed them to her. "When you're ready to talk about any part of this, you know how to reach me." As he turned to leave, Haley called out, "Grayson." He stopped, glancing back. "Thank you," she said simply, "for remembering, for caring enough to do something." A small smile touched his lips. "Some conversations change us, Haley, and ours changed me." 6 months later, Haley stood beside Grayson at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the newly renamed Cole Community Health Center. The transformation exceeded even her boldest hopes: state-of-the-art equipment, spacious treatment rooms, a dedicated pediatric wing with colorful murals and toys. But more importantly, the clinic now provided comprehensive services the community had never had before: dental care, vision services, expanded mental health support, a pharmacy offering medication at cost. No patient would be turned away due to inability to pay, thanks to funding from the Cole Foundation. "And this is only the beginning," Grayson told the gathered crowd, community members, staff, media. "What we've built here will serve as a model for clinics across the country. Healthcare shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a fundamental right." As the cameras flashed, his hand found Haley's. She squeezed it gently, still in awe of the journey that had brought them here. Their relationship had grown slowly, intentionally. Grayson had given her space to process everything about the clinic, about him. When she finally called him back, it was to accept his offer to join the clinic's planning board, at first just a professional collaboration. But through weekly meetings, shared lunches, and late-night discussions about healthcare philosophy, their connection deepened. Grayson wasn't just the polished billionaire she had met that night. He wasn't just the passionate man she had shared a fleeting moment with. He was both and more. Driven, complex, infuriating at times, but inspiring. 3 months into the project, in the middle of an intense debate over resource allocation, Grayson had suddenly asked her to dinner, not a business meeting, but a date. She had said yes. Since then, they had carefully balanced their personal and professional lives, learning how to build something together. "You did it," Haley whispered as they walked through the clinic after the ceremony, her arm slipping through his. "We did it," Grayson corrected. "This is your vision as much as mine." A nurse approached with a question about a patient, and Haley stepped away to assist. Grayson watched her admiration clear in his eyes. That night they shared a quiet dinner in his penthouse overlooking the glowing city skyline. Haley thought about the unexpected path that had brought them here. If someone had told me a year ago that a one-night encounter with a billionaire would lead to revolutionizing community health care, she shook her head, I would have laughed in their face. Grayson smiled, reaching across the table to take her hand. "Life rarely goes the way we expect," he said. "Sometimes it gives us something even better." "Sometimes," Haley agreed, returning his smile. "Though I'm still unsure about using our story for your foundation's fundraising campaign." "Strictly the professional aspects," Grayson assured her. "But I have to admit, she spent one night with a billionaire and then this happened would make a hell of a headline." Haley laughed, throwing her napkin at him. "And what's the moral of that story?" Grayson's expression turned thoughtful. "That genuine connections can happen in the most unexpected moments. That listening to someone's passion can change your own perspective. That something fleeting can turn into something life-changing." His words reached deep into her heart. The night they spent together hadn't been planned. By conventional standards, it might have been a mistake, but it had become the catalyst for something neither of them had anticipated, a partnership that was changing thousands of lives. "I love you," Haley said, the words slipping out effortlessly without hesitation. Grayson's eyes widened slightly the first time either of them had said it. Then his expression softened, and he smiled a smile so full of happiness it made Haley's heart feel like it might burst. "I love you too," he said, his voice steady and sure. "Not because of what we've built together, but because of who you are, the woman who stood up to a billionaire for her patients. The woman who makes me want to be someone worthy of a second chance." As they sat together, the city lights below shimmering like fallen stars, Haley thought about how life's most meaningful journeys often began with an unexpected step. One night with Grayson, it hadn't been an ending. Not a fairy tale, not a rescue story, but the beginning of something real. A journey where two people had found they were stronger together than they ever were alone. "So," Grayson mused, a teasing glint in his eyes softened by something deeper, "what's the next chapter in our story?" Haley smiled, lifting her glass in a quiet toast. "That," she said, "is entirely up to us. If you were Haley, would you be willing to trust Grayson after everything? Have you ever had an unexpected moment that completely changed your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else if this story resonated with you. Don't hesitate to share it and spread the message of connection, courage and belief in something greater. Remember, sometimes one unexpected step can open the door to an incredible journey. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.